right now, and I will make you the host, and then I have to leave myself. Um, Hold on. I think this is ready.
They put out the badge
Right
link.
now, and I did put out the badge link. All right, and I'm gonna make you the host. Make host, change host. All right. All right, it's all yours, buddy.
All right. Well, welcome everyone. Quick, what do we call that? Housekeeping. I am Mike Schacht. I am a crew member from Chicago. I have, well, I think I took my first intensive in 2014. And I was with the crew for about a year before that. So it was PH2 back in those days. And I share all of this mainly to let you know that all the shit you're going through right now, been through it, and I feel for you. But definitely keep your nose to the grindstone and get to the other side. Those of you that aren't associates yet, totally going to happen for you as long as you put the work in. I wanted to start off today telling a quick little story that it kind of caught me off guard. I was out to dinner with my wife on, what is today? Today's Thursday, so it was Tuesday night. And I got a phone call at the restaurant, or my phone rang while we were having dinner. And out of habit, I went ahead and answered the phone, which I probably shouldn't have, but I did. And as the person started talking, I had to get up and walk away because I couldn't really hear. So I'm trying to make heads or tails of things. And part of me is saying, this sounds like a robot. The other part of me is saying, but they're also talking about having a connection to me. Like I'm just very confused, but they're not pausing long enough for me to respond. And eventually I get to the point where I realize that I'm talking to an AI chatbot that is being used by a colleague of a former client. So this person has an AI agent that makes calls on their behalf to schedule appointments and other administrative stuff. So once I wrapped my head around that, I was like, okay, this is definitely weird. And if this is the future, I don't know that I love it. But the AI bot thing that I was talking to sounded human enough. Like I've been playing around and dabbling in a lot of that stuff. So I kind of knew what to listen for. And when prompted, when asked directly, they fessed up and said, yes, I am an AI assistant. It's like, okay. So I got all the info and responded to them when I got home. And nothing has come to fruition there yet. I don't have a booked client to share. But it is kind of a decent segue into how everything's changing right now. And what we shouldn't be doing to adapt to these changes. Like, should I have an AI assistant that answers the phone for me, and then the two AIs can talk to each other and just book things directly? That's probably going to happen. Like, that's probably something we should be thinking about. Is your booking system set up in a way that AI agents can interact with it? I don't think so. I use Acuity personally, and to my knowledge, Acuity doesn't have the tools available for AI agents to directly book. And the way that I've got my personal website set up, or my business website, is that a button has to be clicked in order to even see that there's a scheduler. So this is something that I'm thinking about. Like, is this the right way to do it in 2025? And I would imagine that you all have similar experiences, maybe not to the extent of talking to an AI bot on the telephone trying to book an appointment, but yeah, things are different now. and there are a lot of tools at our disposal. And the first thing I'd like to ask is, what's everyone doing in terms of AI? Do you guys have you implemented AI heavily into your workflows? Are you a low-level user, a curious user, an advanced user? What's your level of comfort here? Anyone that wants to talk, just start talking.
Hey, Mike, how you
Yes,
doing? This is
sir.
Kevin Tressel. Actually, I'll just make a parallel to where I work. I work at a credit union, and this topic is constantly uh, being bantered back and forth because we realize that with these personal digital assistants, they're going to be doing your work for you. So you're going to ask it, "Hey, I need a loan," and it's going to go apply for that loan. You're gonna say, "Hey, I need airline tickets and I want to fly to Seattle in the second week of August." And this AI assistant is going to go out and like troll Expedia and find the best price. So I think that companies all over the world are looking at how uh, they can interact. And again, like you're going to have to be doing things, or these AI agents are going to have to do things on your behalf. So I know it's a really big thing in uh, the business world as far as getting ready for this, and kind of like you with answering the phone. As far as photography, I'm not 100% sure because it's we're not major corporations, but I know that this is really, really a big deal. And things like the medical field, it's going to be everywhere pretty soon. So just wanted to give you some insight, but we constantly talk about this where I work almost every day.
So are you guys developing tools to make that more seamless?
Well, a lot of times you have to deal with vendors. We are not a software company; we're a credit union, so we have to partner with the right people. But it's kind of like, is Siri going to do it? We don't really know, uh, but we know that whoever, it's like Google. If they have the best search engine that everybody uses, there's going to be a winner with your personal digital assistant. And I think companies like Meta and Google and Apple are trying to figure out who that is. And then the vendors that we use are going to have to write to that. The same thing if you're a photographer. Like right now, if you said using Acuity, you're going to have to put that widget on your website, and it's going to be tailor made to work with whatever personal digital assistant. Will say it's Google's. So I think that you know, we really have to wait for the industry to kind of catch up, but there will be one that will rise to the top and everybody will use it just like the iPhone for the personal digital assistant. And then, then there'll be competitors and stuff like that. And, companies are going to have to do this because you're like, "Hey, I go buy a present for my wife." They might come back and give you three options. You're like, "Yeah, go do that." It's going to go on Amazon. It's going to use your credit card. It's going to pay. It's going to ship. It's going to do all those things that you don't want to do. So,
No, I appreciate that. Anyone else want to share something before I move along?
I was just going to say that I had a notification on one of my Echo devices. I won't use her name right now, but and she said she was that word 2.0, and you can pick different voices, and she can do some of that type of thing for you a little bit more so than she could before, like scheduling an appointment with or putting something on a calendar, which she's able to do a little bit more. I kind of just shut her down a little bit because I thought, oh, I don't know about this right now. So, but but yeah, like I don't know if anybody's noticed that, but there's an Alexa 2.0 now. So, and I mean, we've still got that like the original device, but
Got a software upgrade.
the smaller ones, yeah, the smaller ones I have an upgrade, and you can, like I said, you can change the voice and everything. So she sounds totally different. Anyway, so that's something similar to that in the houses, but yeah, I wrote that, I saw something yesterday and I don't remember what it was now, but I'll have to go back and, I was going through email. So it might have been, something in there to do with like my phone or something else, but because
Yeah,
I
no, very
index
cool.
my phone, so yeah. So it was interesting. I'll have to go back and look at it.
So I'm going to try and come at this from a pretty high level. So not to get bogged down in specifics, but if any of you have specific questions about this stuff, as much as anyone can be an expert in this space right now, because that moves so fast, I would feel comfortable, at least among this group of people, positioning myself as an expert. It would be different if we were in a room of software developers in Silicon Valley, but in this room, I feel comfortable calling myself an expert. So if you have questions about this stuff, ask. I'm going to keep on going to try and get to my point. So Kevin, what you mentioned was that our vendors or your vendors in that space, and possibly our vendors, I'll pick on Acuity, is going to have to come up with a solution to that problem. And it's actually a pretty easy solution. And the more that you guys understand a handful of key concepts, the more you'll be able to kind of predict where things are going. So the key concept is that we need our AI devices, whether we're talking about ChatGPT or perhaps it is Siri getting some more advanced features, something like that. They have to be able to communicate directly with whatever interface we're using. So we're going to keep the scope of this conversation for now to our websites, because I think that that's a easy thing to relate to. So websites in general are designed for humans. They've got a graphical user interface. So if we click a button, something happens. When we click on an image, maybe an image blows up. We create the movement around the website, moving a mouse around and clicking on things. That's probably not going to be, once all is said and done, like that'll probably be V1, version 1 of how AI assistants interact with our websites. It's not going to go well, and it already exists to some extent, and some fine tuning has happened. But it's not going to work well, because the way that it actually works in those scenarios is that the AI takes a picture of the screen and guesses, okay, that looks like it's 100 coordinates this way and 150 coordinates that way. Let's try punching there because that looks like where the button is. That's not terribly effective. It'll be what we have to deal with, what we're exposed to in this first version, but the second version is going to be much better. And what's ultimately going to end up happening, do we have any Zapier users here? Anyone doing any type of automation with Zapier or Make, or maybe your Go High Level and you've got automations built in there? Are we familiar with the term API? Is that a word in your, or a term in your
No,
vocabulary? Okay.
no, I'm not.
So an API is kind of like an interface. So if we think of how we use a Tether Tools cable to connect our camera to our computer,
Mhm.
that cable acts as the way that the camera and the computer interface to one another. It solves that problem. And there's a bunch of coding involved and makes all of that work, but the cable itself, or the two ports connected by the cable, act as that interface. An API is kind of like an interface between software. So if you've got automations running in Zapier connected to your Gmail account so that you can trigger something to happen when you receive an email, that's all handled via an API. And that's all you need to know, is that It's the protocol that connects two different services. And what's cool about AI, especially the more you dig in and the more you learn, is that your AIs can interact directly with APIs. So let me throw a scenario at you. And I see a hand up. I'm going to get to your hand in just a moment, Nina. So one of the places where I see this being super valuable is, I'm going to assume that most of you guys have Google Analytics installed for your website. And I'm going to assume that most of you, if you ever end up opening that page and logging into Google Analytics and looking at that data, you say to yourself, oh shit, I don't know what any of this means. I don't know what to do with this information. So what's great about where things are heading in the AI space is that via the API, and there's a handful of different names. I'm not going to get too confusing with the specifics, but at a high level, you can currently hook up your AI assistant directly to your analytics and start talking to it. Hey, how many hits did I get to my homepage in January? How does that compare to last January? So things that you would normally, up until the last couple of years, need to click buttons and punch around a website to figure out and kind of understand how all of this shit works, you're not going to need to do anymore. So my hope in this conversation is to convince you to not worry about learning all of the things. Learn AI really well. Be an expert at AI. And then everything else will just work. There's just going to be shit you don't need to know how to do anymore. Looking at your analytics, looking at Google Search Console, optimizing your website for Google PageSpeed insights so that it loads faster. As things continue to evolve, we're not going to have to know how to do any of this shit anymore. And I think that that's a very cool thing. And I understand the fear. And I was with, and any of you that are afraid of this stuff, I was with you until I started playing with it. And then it kind of became addicting. It's like, okay, if I can do this, then I can do that. So one of the things that I would like to encourage you to do as you experience problems in your business is ask yourself, is there an AI solution to this problem? And if so, how do I do that? How do I connect enough shit to my AI assistant to be able to solve this problem without having to learn all the damn minutia typically involved in solving these problems? If you've ever run a page speed test on your website, and you should, because that's something that affects how you rank in search, how quickly your website loads. If you've ever done that, Google spits out a little list of things that you can optimize. And if you're anything like me, and I would consider myself relatively advanced in that tech space too. But if you're anything like me, you look at that list of things and you say, I don't know how to solve that problem. And again, you're not going to have to. You're not going to have to understand that. You're just going to have to understand how to use AI to solve that problem. So I'm going to pause for a minute. I'm going to let you guys think about the problems you're currently having with your business. And I would like to discuss ways that we could use AI to solve those problems. While you're thinking about that, I'd like to invite Nina to share her question, thought, concern, etc.
No, I just raised my hand before when you asked anybody know what an
okay.
API is. Sorry.
No problem. No problem. Okay, then we'll move right along. Of what I said regarding using AI to solve problems, let me back up a little bit and say that I think that most of us that are using AI are using it the wrong way. And we are using it in its least or in its lowest value proposition. What do I mean by that? Using AI to create text for your social media post is the absolute lowest hanging fruit. Like if that's the extent of your involvement here, then I strongly encourage you to work harder or try harder or challenge yourself to do more. That's actually not a great use case for it at all. And with the sophistication of the modern AIs that we have access to, that's kind of like driving a Ferrari to go to the grocery store. Like, yes, it can get the job done, but no, it doesn't really make sense. We've got Dan. Dan, what do you got, sir?
Mike, can you give us an example of a problem that you had that you were able to solve with AI or AI
Yes.
solved for you? Because you're asking us to discuss how. Give us an example, please.
Sure. I am at a point with my website that I am, how do I put this? I have a good website. I don't have a great website, but it's good. It's significantly better than average, but it's not meeting my expectations. It's not where I want it to be. And a lot of that is due to the limitations of the services we use. We use services like Squarespace or WordPress. I would say that if we were to take a poll of the screen, those two services would cover at least 90% of this group. I don't think that those two platforms survive the AI explosion. So to give you an example, I am currently rebuilding my website with AI. I don't know how to code a website. I am way out of my element on what I should be able to do. But because I've been playing with AI enough, I have been coaching it, or I've been playing the architect to have it build a website for me. Now, why is this valuable? It's not because it saves me a bunch of time, because it's not about time saving. It's about, I don't know what website best practices are when it comes to actually designing them. The AI does. And even if they didn't, I could feed them a document that told them exactly what to do. So the reason that I want to have a website that's outside of Squarespace and it's outside of WordPress, it is just a raw HTML and JavaScript website, is because now when it comes to fixing problems in making my website faster or adding schema to my website so that I rank in OpenAI when people are searching for headshot related stuff. If my website is built by AI and it's not stuck behind WordPress or stuck behind Squarespace, then because of the API component we talked about earlier, it can add the schema. It can do the SEO work for me. It can integrate with Google Search Console and Google Analytics. And we've removed this layer of confusion because Squarespace is a walled garden, not unlike anything else, right? My AI can't go into my Squarespace account and do anything for me. But if I had a HTML or JavaScript website, it could do all of that stuff for me. So the problem that I'm currently using AI to solve is to build me a new website with my help. And then that opens a world of doors. Because again, because of this API concept, think about all of the things that you might have connected to a Zapier to automate XYZ happening. This can all be done naturally now, and you could probably get rid of a $30 a month plus subscription because of it. Not to mention, my hosting fees on Amazon are about 84 cents a month versus the $30 I pay for WordPress hosting. So a lot of cost savings come from this as well, but that's not the reason to do it. The reason to do it is control and being able to get exactly what you want. So think about, I'm just going to pick on the Squarespace people. So think about the last time you were trying to edit your footer in Squarespace. And maybe you go to a competitor's website or another photographer's website and say, I really like their footer. I'm going to try and recreate this. What if it wasn't that hard? What if it was just, hey, AI assistant, check out this footer and make my footer look like that? Like, that's pretty cool. Now, before anyone goes crazy with this, like there are limitations. I could, because, and I know this because I tried. The first thing I tried to do was have AI recreate my current website. It's like, okay, if we can do that, then we can do anything. It did a pretty poor job of that. But when I broke it down section by section, and I said, okay, create this footer, create this header, create this button, yada, 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 as I built more systematically and I tried to be an active participant in the conversation, things started to go a lot better. And now I can say things like, let's change all of the buttons on my website styling to look like this. Or my main call to action on the website is get pricing. Let's change every instance of get pricing on the website to just pricing. Or maybe I decide that I want people to call me instead of showing them the pricing. I could just say, change all these call to actions to call now. Our lives are going to be much simpler in the sense of being able to do and create very cool stuff. Another kind of trope I see people falling into, because the industry is pushing that way, all of these companies right now are trying to monetize this. And I'm not picking on Google or Meta or OpenAI or Anthropic or any of the top tier players. I'm talking about the people in the middle. So an example of that might be you want an AI tool to create a PDF. A PDF that's going to be used to help you sell your headshot booth services. Like maybe that's the goal. What a lot of these companies are doing is just taking OpenAI and baking it into their website. So they're paying OpenAI for the service, for the AI service that you're probably already paying for, and giving it a tool to wrap around, and the tool being able to create the PDF and then charging you $20 a month for it. Now, you could do that and it would solve a problem. But what if I told you in about an hour, you could just build your own tool to create the PDFs? You are only limited by your creativity and your understanding of how the AI works. So again, start small, use this shit every single day. Push yourself to do something that you didn't believe was possible and start racking up those wins, because as you accumulate those wins, your confidence will increase and now you'll really get into the cool shit. So like where I want to go with this, I want to do things like scrape all my competitors' websites and figure out why they're beating me in search, and then create a plan based on that data for me to outrank them on search. Oh, and then go create those 5 pages that are part of that plan. And I'll go in and fine tune them. But yes, like this is it's actually the current. It's not something that a lot of people are doing, but this technology currently exists, which means that someone is going to create a service and charge you for it later if you don't understand how it all works. But if you take a little time to familiarize yourself, you can save yourself a whole lot of money and frustration, because every time some new tool comes out, it's like, okay, now I've got to learn how to use this, et cetera, et cetera. Where do we start? Deborah, that's a great question. And I think that there isn't a universal answer, but let me pose a few ideas. The first thing I would do is talk to your AI and ask it, So what do I mean by that? You could type something like, I am interested in incorporating AI further into my business, but I'm at a loss for how I might be able to use you. Could you help me, or could you suggest 3 or 4 tools that we could build together that I could use for my business? Do you guys know what AppleScript is? I'm going to pick on Apple because I would imagine that a great majority of us are Apple users. Apple scripts are little automations, little actions that you can run on your Apple computer. It's kind of hard to use the way that it's designed. You have to have a little bit of programming knowledge to be able to use it, or you did until we had AI. So this would be my suggestion. To the where do I start? If you're an Apple user, ask your AI to create an Apple script that's going to solve a problem for your business. And maybe it's something simple like every morning run a script at 6 a.m. that cleans my desktop and puts it in a new folder. Or you've probably got a bigger problem you want to solve, but start small and build from there. The first cool thing I did, the first thing that was like, oh shit, this is kind of neat. I said, I want you to build the game Miss Pac-Man in the language of Python so that I can play it. So it built Miss Pac-Man for me. And then once it was built, I just started talking to the code. I was like, okay, can we customize this? And they said, absolutely. What do you want to change? I said, what if rather than ghosts chasing me around, we had the Minions characters chasing me around? And it figured out how to go and do that. I was like, this is cool. Okay, what if instead of Miss Pac-Man being yellow, she was purple? Boom, done. Okay, the game you built for me only has one maze. So I'm tired of playing the same maze over and over again. Create 10 more mazes. Boom, done. Amazing stuff. Just amazing stuff. And then if you can apply a little bit of if this, then that. So if it can do this, then what else can it do? So really, I mean it when I say that your creativity is the only thing that's going to hold you back. Yes, we can use it to craft email responses, and we can use it to write copy for our website or for our social media posts. But if you can move into becoming a power user, I think there's a lot more upside there. And I think that as the market naturally consolidates, and that's not a new thing, the market's always consolidating. There are constantly people going in and out of business. As that happens, the longer you can stay in business and the more data you've collected, the better off you are. I'm going to give you one more example before I open things up a little bit more. I run a group called Headshot Hot Sauce. And one of the things that came up in last week's conversation in Headshot Hot Sauce was this idea of recording conversations that happen in the studio. So back up a little bit. My current workflow is for every photo shoot that happens, I open a new Apple Note. And in that Apple Note, throughout the session, like client runs to change clothes or heads to the makeup artist, I go and I update that Apple Note. Okay, she just told me that her 2 kids' names are Chase and Sarah. She just told me that her birthday is October 27th. She just told me that her favorite TV show to binge is The Bear. I've got all of this info that I'm constantly collecting. But it's all very manual. And then I've got to take that and move it to a database, a CRM or something like that. So based on that conversation we had last week, for my next photo shoot, I grabbed my handy Zoom H1 audio recorder. It's about $100. There's probably a much more recent version of it now. But I turned it on and I put it in my pocket during the photo shoot. And whenever the client said something interesting, I repeated it. And I was I don't want to say stealth about it, but I wasn't drawing attention to the fact that this was for a recording. It was like, oh, your birthday's October 27th. That must be cool. I bet Halloween was always fun. Things like that. So then I take that recording and I transcribe it and have it pull out all of the interesting information and add it to a database. And now that whole process is much more automated than I've been doing for years. And not only that, it's organized in a much better way. And then one step further, because the database that I'm using has an API that that my AI assistant can talk to, I can say things like, of the people I photographed in the last 12 months, which of them are fans of the bear? And it'll give me the 5 or 6 people that I mentioned with this. And now when season 4 of the bear drops and I see the trailer come out for it and they're going to run an announcement for that, maybe I fire off a message to those 4 people like, are you as excited about this as I am? Because they've told me they're interested in it. I'm also interested in it, so there's overlap there. And now I've got a reason to reach out to somebody that isn't about selling them anything. I'm staying top of mind. I'm not relying on them, on an algorithm being sure to show them my social media post. I've got a direct connection to the client. This is the future of marketing, folks. To a certain extent, SEO, as we know it, is going away. You go to Google now, you type in who's the best headshot photographer in Chicago, and you're going to get an AI overview. And then you're going to get a whole bunch of paid listings. And then hopefully your content eventually shows up. Same goes with ChatGPT. They may be name dropping you in their answers, but they're not sending traffic to your website. It's going to be up to you to create these connections with people. And the way that I'm choosing to do that is to befriend all of my clients and make them legitimate friends of mine that I reach out to and talk to about friendly stuff. And I'm going to be using AI to not only help facilitate that, but also handle the follow-up and handle all of the administrative components that go along with that. Again, this is not the future. This is all shit that we can be doing now. And the longer we wait to wrap our head around this and embrace it, the more behind we're going to be and the more forced we're going to be into Kevin's scenario. So from the beginning, Kevin said, everyone's going to coalesce around one service. And I don't think he's wrong. But whenever you're dealing with a monopoly-ish situation, you're beholden to whatever they want to charge you. A little common sense now, a little sweat equity of learning how this stuff works. And I'm not talking about learning how to code. I'm talking about learning how AI works, is going to go a long way in the very short term. Kevin, let's hear it.
Yeah, and this is really fascinating that you're bringing this up. I will say that there's a fine line between wow and creepy. Give you, for instance, if you check into the Ritz-Carlton, or my boss did this, and he checked in, and they knew when he was getting there. They knew he had arrived, and as soon as upon check-in, they bring him up a Cosmopolitan drink because he had been there the year previous, and at the bar, that's what he drank. So,
is that wow or is that creepy?
Well, at the end of the day, you might say it's wow, but what's happening is, and everybody's doing this, everybody's harvesting data to the point of like, it doesn't seem natural that you knew that I had a headshot with you, 9 months ago, and that you remembered that I like the bear. Like, that's the thing. And people are going to see through that and say, hey, this is kind of creepy, because companies, that's the new digital currency is information. So they want to know everything about you. And when they can get that, they're going to know what all the flights that you took and what hotels you stayed at and if you used Uber and all this other stuff. I'm just saying there's a point where sometimes it's like, wow, that's really cool, and you can bond with people. And then there's another point where these companies are going to sell this and use this in ways that you might not like, or you might say, well, why do you give me Cosmopolitan? Well, because the last time you were here, that's what you, so, and they gave it to him complimentary. But the point is that it's a little creepy. Like, you're tracking like what I drink at your hotel. Absolutely. So again, that you could have hours and hours of conversation with this, but I think this is really what the new reality is, where data is that currency, where they're going to know that you're at Home Depot and you bought a hammer or some drywall screws. And it's like, you know what? You're going to get an email that says from your credit card company that says, hey, you're doing a home equity, or I'm sorry, you need a home equity loan because you're doing a home equity, I'm sorry, a home improvement project. Like that's where I think we're headed. And it's going to be interesting to see how everything goes. So I'll shut up, but
No,
just
don't
bringing
shut
that
up.
up.
That's a great example because I think there is a difference between creepy and wow. And I think that we are probably um, the barometer or not barometer. We're obviously the barometer. How we handle ourselves or how we can conduct ourselves kind of influences where that falls. So to give you an example, sometime during the pandemic, I built an electric bike. So I bought a bicycle and then I bought a motor and I bought a battery and all that stuff. And I assembled all the stuff and built a bike. A month later, I get something from my insurance agent asking me to insure my new motorcycle. So like that was like a disconnect, right? Like obviously when I bought the motor for the bike, again, this is a bicycle motor, but I bought the bicycle motor that put me on some list, which the insurance company buys. And then the insurance company goes through and says, I wonder if this guy's got a motorcycle. Let's send him this automated message asking to insure that motorcycle. That was creepy. That was not just creepy. That straight up pissed me off. So I think that this goes to a bigger point and one that I failed to properly develop. But as we were talking about this, but over the last couple of years, I've really focused on befriending my clients and creating a more friendly atmosphere. My average session length has gone from being like 60 minutes to almost 2.5 hours. There's a solid 30 minutes in almost every shoot now at the end where we just sit and bullshit unless somebody's in a hurry. So if not for this relationship building that I'm working on, yeah, I could totally agree with you. That would feel creepy. But to put it in a greater context, and I think you probably know this, but others might not. In every photo shoot, I ask my clients for a vinyl record recommendation. Like that's part of my shtick. And I go out and buy the vinyl record. And when I'm at the record store, I take a picture of me and the record and showing that A, I'm out supporting local businesses. B, that wasn't just lip service. I really took your advice. So they get a text message while I'm at the store buying the record. And then they get an email within a couple weeks after I've had a chance to listen to the album, thanking them for the suggestion and then giving, what I think are the highlights of what I just listened to. So my style of marketing works really well with what you found creepy. And I think it would be less creepy in the proper context of,
Yeah, no offense. No offense. I'm just bringing this up where this is the new dynamic. The same reason why that when you go to Giant, you get a discount because they know who you are. They know you buy, chocolate chip cookies and they know you buy Breyer's ice cream. They're doing that because they want to know who their customers. If you just use a debit or credit card, they don't know who you are. So I really good conversation, but no offense there.
None taken. Like I'm confident in my plan, but it just goes to show, like, I think what you just illustrated was that marketing is not a one size fits all thing. And it's got to be congruent or at least adjacent to your personality and how you're treating relationships. Debbie,
Yes.
do you have something you wanted to add?
Oh, yeah. I was just going to tell Michael, my 21-year-old son has been collecting records for a couple of years. But no, on the AI thing, the thing that it bothers me and creeps me out now, I'm 57, but so I'm more worried about the security of it all. I'm worried about people knowing shit about me that, you know, I just deleted what is it, CapCut, because they were saying that they were going to have control of using my likeness and my voice and stuff like that. I'm like, the hell you are? Like, no. I don't, you answer questions on certain sites, or certain places for, like what your first car was or your first dog or, things like that. Like, when does that stuff become public knowledge out there for sale for people that we can't, it gets so far that we can't prove that we are the real person. I mean, we had, my older son's 24 now, but back when he was in high school, somebody tried to file taxes under his social security number. So, like, he's had a lock on his social security number. Like, you have to have a special PIN to be able to, you know, purchase anything, or file taxes with that anymore. Those are the things that I'm worried about, that it kind of more the weird matrix like stuff. You know what I mean? It just, when somebody else can pretend to be me and put my house up for sale and do other things. Like my husband, we just got our tax bill yesterday. It's paid already. That way, like, he knows what day it comes in. He knows, he deliberately does that. Um, but we have all that stuff monitored. We pay for a monitoring service because we've been on, um, our insurance has had stuff stolen.
Debbie, um, this is Dee.
Okay.
You know, these things were also discussed when they first started making payments online. Everybody was concerned. And I think that there's always this chicken and egg thing where security and fraud are leapfrogging each other. And
Yep.
I think that this is just another one of those areas that you're going to need to, just like we needed to be online at some point, we're going to need to use AI at some point. You just have to trust that the systems that are going to be in place, you still need to be smart about how you handle yourself, but
Yeah.
that this, the security and the systems in place are going to be such that they will protect you. But there's always risk in using anything new. But I still feel like the fear of AI, it sounds like the same thing of people being afraid, I'm never using my credit card online, because you were
Well, yeah,
afraid
no,
of
not
somebody
that.
stealing it, right?
Yeah.
But that's that. I think we're in that same area. It's like everybody fears the unknown, and that's kind of where we're at right now with a lot of this.
Well, we
Hey, Dee,
still we still
sorry.
pay bills with checks, except for the fact I need to send some type of information into the to Verizon because I can save $30 a bill if I pay online. But yeah, everything else we do with check.
But remember how much data people give on public record anyway. You use Facebook, I see it constantly. People post their entire world on Facebook. That information
Yeah.
becomes public information. You post your dog, you post your kids. It's easy for me to track it down and figure it out. We use our social security numbers every day. Wherever we go, they say, "Oh, what's your social security number?" We type it in, we say it out loud, we say it publicly.
See,
All that it becomes public data.
we've had our credit card number picked up somewhere. Chase is really, really good in a creepy way. They know you're spending, and this is where I do like it. They know where we go. They know where we travel to. They know where our spending is. And like they called us one day and we were about to go to San Antonio to visit family. And we were down at my in-laws that day, and they said, you didn't purchase $6 worth of something in Boca Raton, Florida. It was like some convenience store. And I'm like, no. But yeah, I mean, in that sense, I'm glad that they're creepy about it. But I mean, I'm careful. I don't have people repeat the number back to me. I will repeat it to them when I know that I'm in a secure place, like my home or something like that, because they used to do that at the YMCA when our kids were little, and there's people sitting like 5 feet from the counter on a couch, waiting for a ride or something. You know what I mean? It's so open, and
Yeah.
we're just
I don't want you to do anything you're not comfortable with, first and foremost,
yeah.
especially from a security standpoint. But you also don't need to give it the personal stuff. Like we're talking about sharing what your ideal client looks like.
Oh yeah.
If any of you were doing an awesome job on your website, I could probably figure out who your ideal client was just by reviewing that. Like from business stuff, I think that there's probably a lower exposure, but absolutely be cognizant of it and vote with your wallet. All of these companies do not have the same safeguards in place or attitude about security. Um, and I think that one of them stands out above the rest as being more focused on things like that. And it's not OpenAI. Ellie, what do you got?
I just wanted to add that I'm with you. Whether we're comfortable with this or not, it's one train that is coming to our station. And if we're not ahead of this route, we're definitely behind. So AI and things like knowing your drink will stop being creepy. They'll become expected reality. I have a restaurant in my area where customers really delight when they are greeted with this director of marketing who just printed out congratulations on their graduation or birthday because she was able to see it on their social media. And for the most special clients that come every week and load hundreds and hundreds of dollars, they actually go into that much trouble to follow them through. They are ecstatic. They expect it as this luxury service. Moreover, once it becomes the norm, people will not see it as creepy. People will kind of be bewildered why somebody didn't greet them by name and didn't ask how is the adult surgery just went or the whatever issue went away.
Do any of you currently do a digital deep dive on your clients before they come in? Like you see the booking come through, it's John Smith, and you go search for John Smith on LinkedIn or Instagram, et cetera, and try and figure out who this person is. Like that can be automated now.
Yes.
Like that's a thing we're all doing, and it can absolutely be automated.
I use Perplexity to do that. I tell Perplexity, this person bugged, who are they? And then it goes out, gives me links to their Facebook, their Instagram, their LinkedIn. I get to see who they are before they walk into a door.
Cool.
Because if it's someone creepy, I want to make sure
But
I'm ready for them.
So earlier somebody asked, like, what are some things we could do? So what you're describing, having to manually go to Perplexity and do this, it's not hard. It's not that time consuming, but I would assume that every now and again things slip through the cracks. What if you had an automation set up to where as you get your Acuity booking notification, that triggers an automation that goes and runs that Perplexity search, and then it shows up inside your inbox.
I've been trying to, so Perplexity doesn't do it automatically, right? So I've been trying to build a bot that will not only go out to, my Acuity, when a booking occurs and automatically get to Perplexity, but I'm also trying to get it to like synchronize my Acuity with my Squarespace and with my Square Up, sorry, and my Google Contacts, so I don't have to use Zapier anymore. I am working in those,
So
playing with
what you're
doing all that.
talking about is exactly the type of shit I'm talking about. And I think that
Yeah,
it's probably too high level of a conversation, or it's too
yeah,
it's too much for this group today. But
yeah.
if you ever want to have a talk about that, call me directly. Like I might be able to point you in the right direction.
All right. Thank you.
All right, Slava, what do you got?
Yeah, hey Mike, great topic. I especially interested in building my own website, like without any constructors. I'm on Squarespace now, and I start asking ChatGPT how I can build a website using like for free or really cheap, and it sends me to WordPress or somewhere else. So my lame question, because I never build website without any these constructions sites, is it possible? How it works?
Okay, so
You said something about Amazon, or
so I'm gonna not get into specifics because I think that it's going to derail the conversation, but I am gonna give you some advice here, just based on how I'm doing this. Now, the first piece of advice I'm going to give you is that as of July 3rd, 2025, right now you could do this with Anthropic's Claude, or you could do this with, I think it's Gemini's CLI. I think that's what it's called. But they are two tools different than OpenAI, that can actually create files on your computer. So they have an advantage right now. It's a temporary advantage, and I'm sure it'll go away maybe as early as next month. But today, as I'm explaining this to you, it would have to be done with one of those tools. But
So
what
there's a different Claude version that you're using, because I'm using Claude and ChatGPT both. But
okay.
So is there like you said Anthropic's Claude? Is that
Claude is Claude, yes.
okay?
Anthropic
Oh,
is the company. Claude is the product.
okay. Okay. All right. Got
So
it.
it's OpenAPI or OpenAI, ChatGPT,
Yeah.
Anthropic, Claude.
Okay. Because it
Same
keeps telling me it can't build my code.
Okay.
So I'm on the free version. So
that's going to be a limitation. So
okay.
let's talk about that too. First off, like many of you, I have more subscriptions than I know what to do with, and more than I use. And if I can give anyone advice, go through your subscriptions, find a $20 subscription that you can just eliminate and pay for a paid version of this. Like, of all of the subscriptions I pay for, I use Claude the most by a factor of 100. Like, it's nuts. But going back to Slava's question, and I think it'll simultaneously answer yours. In the paid version of Claude, specifically in the Max plan, you can have it actually create files on your computer. So what I did was I had a conversation with Claude. We decided that a mixture of, or we decided that Node.js, Node.js, was the framework that I was going to use to build my website. And it created a little test server on my computer, and we just started iterating. So maybe that's helpful, Slava, to say, okay, we're going to start in this architecture, or let's have a talk about which language we're going to use to do this. Your understanding of the language is not important. You're just going to be feeding it commands in English, and it's going to go do what it's going to do. To take that one step further, I said Amazon because I use Amazon as my cloud hosting provider. So when I built the website, then I pushed it up to Amazon. And that sounds complicated, but I just said, Claude, can you push this to Amazon? And it walked me through some stuff, and we did it together. So because I don't have a WordPress.com subscription and I don't have a Squarespace subscription, so I'm not paying the $20-ish a month for hosting there. I am just paying Amazon. The web division of Amazon is called AWS. My AWS hosting bill is approximately 87 cents a month. So I'm saving a shitload of money there by hosting my website in Amazon. It's a very specific scenario, and we can get into more of this maybe in a smaller group or in a private discussion. But all of this stuff is totally possible, guys. Yes, you are going to bang your head against the wall a little bit, but what I think is important to walk away from is as you're banging your head against the wall building this website or any of the other like trivial kind of things we've suggested doing, we are accumulating knowledge that we're going to be able to build on top of. So yes, so that's why I say start with something small, because you're going to do less banging your head against the wall. You're going to learn some best practices in how you talk to it. Context is a very important thing. So just Slava, that conversation would go so much better starting off. I want you to help me build a website in Node.js. I'm going to host it on an AWS server. And I'm a photographer. I want there to be some type of checkout capability, and maybe you could discuss whether you build that into the site directly or you pull in a service like Calendly or Qt scheduling, like lots of different ways to do all of this. But in terms of like being able to write code to solve problems, no longer a thing. Do you have to iterate? Yes. Is it going to work perfectly the first time? No. But don't let that discourage you, because your first version of your Squarespace website probably sucked too. And the first version of your WordPress website probably sucked too. You have to put it in the right, you got to come at it from the right mindset of, this is a new skill that I need to learn. And as I learn it, it's going to make every other time I use this service easier. Everything builds upon the layer below it.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. That's what I needed to hear, because, like I said, I'm completely lame. So now I know some magic words, at least Node.js and AWS. I use Google Drive. Will Google Drive work as a storage for
I don't
files?
know. I can't see why it wouldn't work for storage, but I don't know that you're going to be able to run code directly from Google Drive. So that might be a great question for your AI assistant. Hey, if we build this in Google Drive, are we going to be able to run this code? And my guess is that the answer is going to be no. But that's one of the many reasons that I think Claude is the best product for what we do.
Yeah,
Who else
I
can
also
I?
heard
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
that Claude is best for programming.
It is
Claude is
not.
best for programming.
It is not the most popular service, but I've tried them all. I find it to be the most useful. And of them, if we're talking about trust and things along those lines, I trust them more than I trust the other services as well. Any other questions I can answer for you guys?
I think these are great conversations. Thank you.
Hey, I'm always happy to come back and have these conversations. So if there's something specific you guys realize you want to talk about, bother Peter. Just say, hey, can Mike come back and answer questions? And I'm always happy to. Last chance. Any other questions?
Mike, what's the name of your website?
312elements.com. All right, gang. This has been fun. Hopefully, if nothing else, I've encouraged you to try and do something that you thought was impossible, because it has changed my business so much for the better. It's now like seeping into my personal life too. So like my personal life is benefiting from it. A lot of the news around this AI stuff is all very doom, gloom, scary. Change the channel. Focus on the positivity, because it's coming one way or the other. So you can either hide behind it or hide behind your rocks, or benefit from it. But thank you all. I'm gonna put an end to this, and hopefully we see you all very soon. Enjoy your 4th of July.